Wow, guys, the journey is over. Man, it felt like yesterday when we heard Toy Story 5 was announced by Disney. We were all so nervous if this was gonna be another iconic movie or not to the 30-year franchise. Mostly because there was a lot that changed in Toy Story 4 to the franchise. And now I am here right now doing a movie review because I have just seen Pixar's highly anticipated Toy Story 5. My expectations going into this film were pretty high. Toy Story is one of the most beloved animated franchises in history. The trailers made me so excited. All over the internet, they were saying Toy Story 5 was gonna break our hearts. Taylor Swift was gonna join the team. However, going into this film, I knew that it wouldn't be as good as stuff like Toy Story 3. I didn't need an iconic movie. All I wanted was a super enjoyable Toys vs. Tech film with some nostalgic Toy Story feel. So, let's find out if this 3-year wait was really worth it. So after waiting since 2023 for Toy Story 5, I left the theater feeling amazing. Overall, this film didn't meet up to the Toy Story standards like the previous 4 movies. And yes, I know, I'm way too biased. If you're not new to my channel, you would know how much hype I've expressed for Toy Story 5. So obviously, I know I have a huge blast with this Toy Story movie. Woody and Buzz got more screen time together, the film focused a lot more on Jessie, and it had lots of themes on technology. However though, this movie was not perfect in many different ways. But first, let me get into the story for Toy Story 5, cause man, it was fantastic. The story for Toy Story 5 takes place when Bonnie is 8 years old. With her struggle to make friends, her parents buy her the Lily Pad, a tablet that will help Bonnie interact with other kids online. Or rather, the Pond, a group chat where she can socialize with other girls. The toys realize that Bonnie is becoming addicted to the device and that she is neglecting them. And man, I'm so glad how Pixar made such a great sequel out of this story. So first what I'm gonna do here is talk about the 2 main different acts in Toy Story 5. Starting off with Jessie's story. We all knew this film was gonna be all about Jessie. This movie covered and explained more about Jessie's backstory, her trauma of Emily abandoning her. They dived further into what we got from Toy Story 2, and in Toy Story 5, Jessie learned more of her history. Now, this part will have a couple spoilers, so I'm gonna avoid it. But all I'm gonna say is that Pixar dealt with this act so well, and really made me enjoy Jessie more as a character. The next act in Toy Story 5 is the Toys vs. Tech situation. This is the main storyline act in the movie, basically where Bonnie is addicted to a device and how the toy gang deals with it. This is the act where we get introduced to Lilypad, a prickly frog-shaped tablet that desires Bonnie's attention, or the anti-hero of the movie. I would say that I love this storyline of Bonnie's screen addiction. This was a really good idea and really matches what we have in the world today, where kids that are less than 9 years old stop playing with the traditional toys and rather choose to spend lots of time on a screen. I also enjoyed how this situation of the film actually revolved around Bonnie. All of the Toy Story movies, the conflict of the movies revolved around the toys and didn't really have too much screen time on the actual human. But with Toy Story 5, we got to see more of Bonnie's life, and the problem was about her because she was struggling to make friends. That element I really love to see in Toy Story 5. Now the comedy. While Toy Story 5 wasn't exactly the funniest movie ever, it still contained a lot of funny bits. There was also many references, such as a couple from Toy Story 2, and the overall comedy all turned out to be hilarious, just as funny as the previous 4 films.
How's a wrap? Me and the toys been working all summer trying to get Bonnie make friends.
First dance, honey.
Stuffalo Bill.
Some sort of old man toy?
What?
She thinks you're old because you're bald, Woody.
Yeah, despite all of my positive comments on Toy Story 5, the movie was not free of issues. My main problem was, well, the film had no nostalgic feeling to it. I know that's pretty controversial, but unlike the other Toy Story sequels, this one felt a little too different. Before I was like, no, Toy Story 5 is gonna be different in a good sense, but now I'm like, nah. I believe there wasn't even any original Toy Story songs in this film. I prefer the regular Toy Story feel and nostalgia. The real reason why this film feels different, and this leads to my next con, is because of the lack of Woody's screen time. I mean, we all knew this was gonna be about Jessie and less on Woody, but still. Woody is a Toy Story legacy character and definitely deserves a little more screen time, and I really do wish he had a little bit more of a purpose in Toy Story 5. All I needed was a movie just 10 minutes longer to have more screen time on Woody. Another one of my criticisms on the story of Toy Story 5 is because Lily Pad's character transition is way too fast. We all knew Lily was gonna redeem herself at the end of the movie, but honestly, this happened too quick, and she wasn't even a villain for too long. In fact, she actually had a bit of a limited screen time, or at least not enough to me. I feel like they spent too much time on Jessie and her story, and less on her. My last criticism on Toy Story 5, and I guess you could say this is not exactly a problem, they were saying online that Toy Story 5 was gonna break our hearts like crazy. But to me, I didn't even cry one bit. Sure, the movie was kinda sad and emotional, but not a single tear dropped out of my eyes. But this can be an issue because I don't really cry during movies, so there you go. But all in all, Toy Story 5 is fantastic. It definitely meets up to Toy Story standards. It's relatable to what's in the world today, the movie is really funny with fun Easter egg references, and I really loved how the story revolved around Bonnie, with Jessie taking a big role. Again, it's not perfect because of the lack of some nostalgic feel, and Woody and Lily's limited screen time, but still. Overall, I loved Toy Story 5's story, and really is an awesome and worthy Toy Story movie. Toy Story is known for its memorable and unforgettable legacy characters, but let's get into them anyway, and after talking about the old characters, I'll be talking about the new ones and then the human characters. Starting off with Jessie here. Ever since Toy Story 2, Jessie has been a great character that brings a lot of wild energy to the film. And in Toy Story 5, well, she's no different. And again, I especially liked how she had a prominent role in the 5th movie, and how her traumatic backstory was explained a little bit more. Next up is Buzz, voiced by Tim Allen. I've always enjoyed Buzz on the screen since Toy Story 1, and to me, he is one of my favorite Toy Story characters. Buzz was actually pretty different in this film though, and he served as Jessie's deputy throughout the movie. To be sincere, Buzz was a little too different. He acted less of a protective companion and more of a competition for Woody. If you don't know, in Toy Story 5, Buzz is not happy for Woody's return, but rather disappointed because he is already Jessie's assistant. But still though, Buzz is one of my favorite Toy Story characters, and in this 5th movie, they really did a new thing with him. The last old character I'm gonna talk about here is Woody, voiced by Tom Hanks. As I told y'all before, I was slightly let down by his screen time, but during Woody's screen time, rather than the smart and funny Woody we always knew, he was more of an aged sidekick.
You really let things go?
Sort of old man toy?
Stuffalo Bill.
But don't get me wrong, I don't want to express this in a too negative way. I still really enjoy Woody for who he is. Next up is the new characters, and all I gotta say is that all of these I had a blast watching them. First up, we have Lily Pad, voiced by Greta Lee, and the antagonist in Toy Story 5. She is the frog-shaped tablet that desires Bonnie's attention. And what I'll say here is that she was a pretty good villain overall. She reminded me a lot of Anxiety from Inside Out 2, where she had good intentions for Riley, but the outcome always turned out to be bad. Kinda like Lilypad with Bonnie. This is actually known as an anti-hero, and I like how Pixar is doing this lately with their villains. Her character arc in Toy Story 5 was pretty crazy though. My only problem with Lilypad though is that, as I said before, she didn't really get enough screen time. And if it weren't for that, this would be an amazing Pixar antagonist. The next character we got is Smarty Pants, voiced by Conan O'Brien. He is Blaze's toy and a potty training device. And dang, this was definitely my favorite new character in Toy Story 5. He was really hilarious, and shout out to Conan O'Brien, cause he was sincerely the perfect voice actor for him. Smarty is honestly the new Ducky and Bunny from Toy Story 4. He is truly an unforgettable Toy Story character. After that, we got Atlas the GPS Hippo toy, voiced by Craig Robinson, and Snappy, voiced by Shelby Labara. While they didn't play big roles, they were still cool characters and a great addition to Blaze's tech trio. The next characters I'm gonna talk about is the Multi-Buzz, or the high-tech edition buzzes. And oh my gosh, these turned out to be some really interesting characters. There were this group of 50 high-tech delusional buzzes that were stranded on an island from a shipment container. And while they didn't really speak or talk that much during the film, they were great characters overall that played an interesting role. When the movie went on, they figured out what it meant to be a toy and ended up helping Woody, Buzz, and Jessie. Next up are the human characters, starting off with Bonnie. I was really glad how Pixar spent more time with Bonnie and how the situation revolved around her, because she is probably my favorite human character in Toy Story. Really, because she has a lot of personality, such as her possible social anxiety. In Toy Story 3, she hid behind her mom when someone came. In Toy Story 4, she can't talk to anybody in her kindergarten class. And in Toy Story 5, she doesn't have courage to make friends and socialize around her neighborhood. This makes her a great character. After Bonnie is Blaze Manookian. This is the 9-year-old girl that is new to the franchise and a pretty cool character because she has a resemblance of Emily. Blaze is a horse-loving girl that has a pig named Jimmy Dean and a horse named Daffodil, similar to Emily. On the whole, the Toy Story 5 characters turned out to be excellent. Yeah, I had a few minor problems with Woody and Buzz, but they are still the beloved duo to me, and Jessie made me enjoy her a lot more, and this was definitely her best Toy Story film. Our old characters like Rex, Ham, Slinky, and Mr. Potato Head didn't have big roles in Toy Story 5, but since Toy Story is getting crowded with a bunch of new characters, I can't complain about this. The new characters, despite Lily's limited screen time, seriously, all of them, especially Smarty Pants, were awesome. With Pixar, they are known as the greatest animation studio of all time. And with Toy Story 5, well, it's no different. The one thing that did surprise me though is how they really redid all the main characters, with them having a not necessarily detailed, but very crisp and sleek appearance. This is honestly a great idea for Toy Story 5, where our characters just have a new beginning and era for their animation and designs. Also, our old characters get some new elements to their body, where Jessie gets her sheriff badge, Buzz gets his deputy sticker, and Woody gets a poncho. I also like to see how they made some watercolor animation when a kid plays with their toys. For example, there were 3 times in the movie where, to display the kids' imagination, they put this watercolor animation, and I found that super creative and really worked out just fine. I know it's obvious, but Pixar once again really did phenomenal with this Toy Story 5 animation. The designs, the sleek appearances made this an excellent choice if you want a high quality and refreshing Toy Story animation. Overall, Toy Story 5 lived up to my expectations, and that 3-year hype was really worth it. Yeah, while it doesn't feel like a Toy Story movie, which I was disappointed about, it was still great how all of our favorite legacy characters returned for another Toy Story film. I was, again, also kind of upset how Lily didn't appear too much. Buzz was served as a superior meanie to Woody, but once again, they are still my favorite movie duo in history. They spent a lot more time together considering all the Toy Story movies they both were separated for most of the film. But what I especially loved about Toy Story 5 was the themes of technology. I love how this movie had the message that toys and tech can coexist together, and how it didn't really completely villainize technology, and how it can be used for useful purposes. I did release a full ranking on my channel of the first 4 Toy Story movies, and you can check it out, but now that Toy Story 5 came out, this is my ranking over here. Number 5 is Toy Story 4, number 4 is Toy Story 2, number 3 is Toy Story 5, which I have just recently seen, number 2 is Toy Story 1, and number 1 is Toy Story 3. That leaves Toy Story 5 as my third favorite Toy Story, which is a very solid outcome, leaving just 1 and 3 ahead. The new movie also did really well on critic ratings, getting 93 on Tomato Meter and 7.8 for 10 on IMDb. These are all the Toy Story films' Rotten Tomatoes scores here, and while Toy Story 5 is the lowest, getting nearly a 95 is clear excellence in cinema. My overall score on Toy Story 5 is a 9.6 out of 10. This is not low at all, for it did succeed all my expectations. And as I said earlier in this video, my expectations on this film were pretty high. Sure, while it's an average Toy Story movie, Toy Story is my favorite franchise of all time. So yeah, you're gonna get a really high level movie. By the way, if you joined me on the journey throughout all my Toy Story 5 updates and trailer breakdown videos, then thank you so much for the support. This is probably my last ever video on Toy Story 5, and I really miss talking about this film and giving updates to y'all on the film. I remember all the way back in September when I was talking about the new Destination D23 Toy Story 5 updates, and man, that was almost 1 year ago. But it was super fun while it lasted, and honestly, I had the time of my life talking about Disney and Pixar's Toy Story 5.